Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
What isn't? Coach Jay can hear you loud and clear. That haircut of yours is just kind of what happened to the shorts today.
Yeah, right. Got a big haircut today. Got a big haircut today. Welcome everyone to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this session is to review what happened in the markets for the day. May talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities. Risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay, Topstep performance coach since June of 2023. Trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6. And that's Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for the last 2 years. I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some experience, some knowledge, perhaps help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. For today's lesson class, we are going to go over what a meme coin is. Can anyone put some of their favorite meme coins in the chat? Dogecoin, we got Pepe. Any other meme coins? We always have bots in here talking about meme coins. Any other meme coins you guys can think of?
NQ. There we go.
Like the biggest meme coin there is. Charts for the day, but it felt like a meme coin today. I think biggest percentage move seen, or biggest point wise move we've seen ever in the Nasdaq, and pretty crazy to think about. You lost sound. You should still be able to hear us. Wow, what a day! How was your day, Coach?
Yeah, I'm tired. I had a decent day. I was having a great month today. Gave half of it back, and I felt like I traded very well.
Nice, good stuff.
Because if I didn't react, I would have got crushed. But we can go through the charts. But yeah, in my younger days, I would have been greedy and stuck. And these days, they can destroy you as a trader if you're not disciplined. And I've been there. So I did not expect this kind of day earlier, but we talked about it in November. Be prepared, because
expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected. How was your day?
It was good. It was good. When this craziness kind of broke out, I was doing a session with the VIPs, which I don't trade any funded or personal accounts during that time. So I didn't catch most of this move, but with this expanded volatility, there's still opportunity. I didn't take a trade in my Topstep XFA until after 3 o'clock Eastern time, and still had a pretty good day. And I think that's just a testament to the volatility that we're seeing right now. And we will go from there. But let's just get into it, Coach. News first. Start with the news. We did have planned numbers at this point. Don't really mean too much. We had FOMC minutes come out. We also had crude inventories. Tomorrow we do have CPI, jobless claims. Friday we have PPI. But yeah, the news that moved the markets was the 90-day pause on pretty much any country besides China that is not going to lower their tariffs with the United States. We do have headlines coming out right here. The 90-day pause on tariffs does not apply to tariffs on Canada and Mexico. 25% tariff on non-USMCA trade with Canada and Mexico to remain in effect, except for 10% tariff on energy and potash. So headlines kind of going all over the place. One of the biggest signs, Coach, I don't know if you saw it, but the tweet by the president that said it's actually a good time to buy, or not even a tweet, it was on Truth Social. He said, now is a great time to buy. Did you see that?
I'm still stunned. I don't. Yeah, I heard. I didn't see it, but I heard that.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't lying.
Well, he had some inside information.
No,
I don't know.
It was
Hmm.
interesting price action afterwards, though. But let's stop there on that one.
Yeah.
Uh, we had 35 different markets we can trade with Top Step accounts, not just the equities. And today, to the downside, we had the Japanese. Actually, sorry, we had the 10-year down 7.1%, Swiss franc down 0.94%, and the Japanese yen down 1.01% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we had the Russell up 8.65%, the S&Ps up 9.58%, and the Nasdaq, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, and might be the record for biggest percentage move that we've seen out of all of these markets for the year. I got to go back and check. 11.93% to the upside today. Uh,
And most of that came in 5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes. Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
crazy stuff. So I think the story, the headlines today are the markets. So let's just get right into it, Coach. I'm on a 30-minute chart on the Nasdaq. What are we looking at here?
Well, we finally got above in 5 minutes, above that 200. But was interesting, we got last night and early this morning, we held was it what day is today? Monday's lows or Sunday night's lows, where we had the preview of 90-day delay in tariffs. I find that very interesting.
Had to kick the tires to
Um,
make sure they were good.
yep. But if we remove, if you look at the 20, it's double bottom. If we looked at the 20-day moving average alone, it wasn't going low. I've been short for a week, but I saw that and I didn't know the news. I didn't get the email or text or the signal. All I know is it stopped. It was what was it? 150 lower last night.
You talking about the Nasdaq?
Well, Nasdaq I think was 300 lower.
Yeah, we were looking at that Nasdaq chart. Let's see. Yeah, I think we were from where settlement was. Yeah, we were about 400 points lower.
But yeah. So what happened if we last night we held. We actually went sideways. Um so this morning my feeling was this morning's opening was going to be very, very important. So looking at the 3-minute opening bar,
There we go, Coach.
have we seen this before?
A couple of times.
So we were sitting there going sideways. VWAP broke out and never curled back in, but price did. But interesting, look what the biggest before the explosion, the biggest volume were two buying bars early. And we couldn't take out the low of that first one with VWAP breaking out of the range. So when I'm looking at it, I'm short. I'm like, please keep going down.
Right.
When I start saying please, I'm like, it's time to, it's not a
Get
good
out.
thing. But it's when we got back above it, I looked at the half hour, keeping that opening range in. And just before that explosion, VWAP left the half hour range. And it was in before. I mean, I didn't want to hang around too much any longer. I didn't want to buy it. It wasn't part of my plan. I could look back and go, Jesus, I should just buy it if that happens. Well, maybe you should, but it wasn't part of my plan, and I don't. But just looking at VWAP only, the selling stopped.
Yep. Yes, it did. It was interesting. So we were on fast markets this morning, and it looked like, we were talking about yesterday as well. We haven't had a range bound market in a long time. Nasdaq trading 19,320 right now, still making new all time highs, up 12% currently. But we talked about this selling during fast markets, and it looked like maybe we were going to break, but the volume was pretty insignificant, right? Coach, we were talking in the green room a little bit about, in this environment that we're in right now, where everything is so headline driven, um, how much weight can we give to the price action that happens before a headline comes out? Right. That's my question. Right, where it looks like we're going to sell, but we know that every time we've moved in the last week, it's been because of a headline, and when we get that headline, it's a pretty big move. So even this, right? Do I know that I can buy it here and just hold on to it? If you heard what MP's trade today was, he bought the S&Ps down here on a 4 lot. He did not hold it the whole time. He made some nice money on it, but uh, it's hard to kind of be convinced about any price action before a headline comes out in this environment because you know, we've seen how drastic the moves are. It almost doesn't make sense to put on a trade until after. You could look at it that way, right? So when this price action looks like it's going to sell off, and then we hold the low of that opening range, I think it's a nice buy opportunity where we see that volume kind of dry up a little bit. Um, do you buy knowing that this is going to happen? I think we'd be a liar if we said we did, uh, or you got some information that we don't have. But yeah, it was pretty range bound until it wasn't, Coach.
Well, um, that's why volume. Read the trail of the volume. Even on those lows, it was away from VWAP,
Yep.
going back to the previous held low. If you want to sell it, go ahead. But if you sell this without a stop, I can't say this enough. How do you know that that headline doesn't come out at that time?
Correct. Yeah, you have no idea.
Because, like I said, that just was a tweet at noon Central. Um, you can no problem selling. Maybe I think a great trader was selling it today and made money.
Yep.
I'm not that trader. Um, but there was clues that the selling had stopped. And if we let's look at the daily and see what it looks like going forward. Wow.
Look at where we
Engulfed
stopped.
in with an engulfing candle. What did it take? It took out, really not, because it didn't take big candle. It engulfed a lot. But where did we stop?
20 moving
20-day
average on the
moving
daily,
average.
19,384. Pretty much to the tick, high of the day. They cannot keep getting away with this, Coach. With that being said, we're still under the 20-day moving average.
Yeah. Now, we'll tell the tale that 20 is still moving pretty sharply down. So technically, that mark that 20-day moving average. Someone asked before, how will we know when the bottom's in? Well, after it's made. I still can't call it a bottom, but I said before, if it settles above the 20-day moving average, that should be a good sign. but we're still under the 200. We still have the death cross, and we've talked about this many times. Bear market rallies are vicious. I think you would put this in the dictionary under vicious bear market
100%.
rallies, right
100%.
next to it.
A couple of things. I saw a comment from Hig that says technicals don't matter during geopolitical events. Talked about this a little bit yesterday, but using a technical approach to uh, fundamentally driven markets. Uh, in if somebody wanted to technically use the 20 moving average as a target, that was there. I also want to point out real quick something that we've talked about a couple of times on this segment. But even if you don't catch, again, if somebody says that they knew this move was going to happen and the Nasdaq was going to end the day up 12%, I wouldn't buy whatever they're selling. But if we do something that we do all the time here, catch a VWAP to that high volume when it comes in, coach, we could look at it the same way we do an opening range trade, right? That volume left the range and was supportive the entire time. I said I didn't take a trade until after 3 p.m. Eastern time. Here's my trade. I missed 7.5% of the move and was still able to have a good day because I lean on a technical approach to a fundamentally driven market. Right? We've talked about this exact trade when the Nasdaq range was trading 300 points. Right? So you do have to have an approach to get into the markets at the end of the day, right? We're day traders. We have to have an exit and an entry and exit plan. Right? I didn't take a trade because, and you could ask the VIPs that were in the room with me. I was kind of frustrated that I missed this, but what am I going to do? Try to make up this move? I can't do that. These moves happen once every 15 years or once every past 3 days, if you've really been paying attention. But once this comes back to this VWAP, now I can know, I don't know that this is going to continue, but I have a level that allows me to limit risk based on something that I do all the time, right? Anchor VWAP to high volume, it continues, and then we go from there.
Oh, I have a question. Coach Paul, do you listen to a news squawk during the day or while you're trading? No, I listen to, what else would I listen to? Topstep TV. But sometimes I'll turn off the sound if I'm really
Locked
I'm
in.
in a couple locked in. No, then I turn it back on. What I don't do is listen to CNBC. They're not traders. That's an investing network. But what I'm like today, I was locked in. I had a lot of things on it. I was loaded. So I turn off everything. It's dead quiet in my office when I'm in that mode. Because you have to be locked in when you have a position on. Or you're looking for a trade to execute your plan. I find that if I'm listening to
Too many things.
CNBC, yeah, or too many things are going on, that's a distraction, and I try to eliminate as many distractions. But my go-to in the background when I have time is Topstep TV. Why? I mean, I'm a shill, yes, but I will tell you this: there's traders on there, and I really
Correct.
I appreciate that. It's a trading community. But when I'm really locked in, I think any trader will tell you I don't have opinions. I think it's like poison to good trading. Because when you have an opinion, you become attached to it.
Yep.
Or so just focusing on executing the plan. If I don't have a trade on or I don't have an opportunity, yeah, I'll turn something on. I might turn some music on, but mostly it's Topstep TV. But I absolutely never put on CNBC, and I know Rick
Oh, did you do that?
Santelli very well. I've known him for 30 something years. Great guy. But there's a lot of theater there. If you want to be serious about trading, focus on
Execution.
execution. Thank you
So
for the question.
here's a you said you're a shill for Topstep TV. MP posted today, I guess one of his friends texted him and said, "When my Robinhood push notification started firing out, I thought something was up. So my first instinct was to tune into Topstep TV, and there you were. You guys had all the minute by minute info." Because, like Coach said, we're actively trading these markets, right? Where uh, you might get the full story on what the markets did after the close, or how do you execute it, right? Yes, CNBC is going to say at the end of the day the Nasdaq was up 12%. There are traders actively taking advantage of the market being up 12%, right? And what we're building here at Topstep TV, I think that is it's not being done anywhere else. Shout out to us.
Yeah, and I'll put one other thing on there. I admire
Being
Bloomberg TV. I think it's good for investors, but we're traders.
Yep,
So that news and that format goes to tell, I call it, we'll tell you where the market has been and why.
correct.
And as traders, we have to be in the present. We have to be focused on the present. Um, and when I'm in the market, I want to hear why it did that. I need to know in the moment
That it's doing it.
that it's doing it. So, good question. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Anything else? How do we approach these markets? I have the S&P chart up now, Coach. How do we approach these markets going into tomorrow? How do you approach them?
The same way I do every day. Tonight, right now, can this sustain? I'm gonna I'm gonna know where that 20-day moving average is. All right, but I'm gonna frame out the first half an hour
Go from
and
there.
see if there's any urgency on either side.
Yep. Good stuff. For me, I am not trading overnight sessions right now. So for me, my approach to the markets is going to start tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And the reason being, there's been enough opportunity during the New York session for my trading style that I don't have to try to make it up in the overnight. And I think I've actually been losing more trades in the overnight session, trying to maybe force some action a little bit. But I will pay attention to what the overnight markets do, and then frame my trading plan around there. I am going to be on slow markets with Dakota tonight, so maybe that's a little contradictory, but uh, I'm not going to be placing any trades unless it's clear. But yeah, I'm making better trading decisions during the day, so we'll leave the slow markets to Dakota.
I would
Right?
add one other thing right now is in these kind of markets, there's a time where you need to step back,
Yeah.
take a day off. It's I'm exhausted. Now, I'm not as young as I used to, and I would I trade during the day and the night. I go sometimes with 3 hours of sleep if the market was right. But what happens? You lose your edge, you lose your focus. Just like an athlete,
Yep.
the brutal road trip, that it gets old. You're not away from home. You're in a different time zone. You're playing hard. Then you play 2 days in a row, and then you get on a plane, and you that's why um, it's hard to be on spot on all the time. So if you're feeling that, you don't have to trade day and night. You could pick one, but sometimes getting away from it, like I might take a day off next week.
Nice.
Just maybe it's Monday. But
Chance to breathe.
resetting, yeah, a chance to breathe, resetting your emotional and you're resetting your emotions and getting
Yep.
back to being at a 0 point is important because I can feel it now.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like,
Yeah, it's a lot. Like you said, it's like it's physically, emotionally, draining. It is, and you need to make sure you rebuild that in order to continue to execute. Because what we do here, especially with day trading, is a performance sport. Nasdaq's still making all time highs, 19, or not all time highs,
yeah,
highs of the day.
soon. That
Uh,
might be tomorrow.
yeah, right. Might be tomorrow. Shubham has a question. Have you seen professional traders regret missing big moves, or do they treat them as anomalies? Building a career chasing these feels unsustainable. I remind myself that trading these wild moves is unsustainable. A long term career should be built on high probability setups, even if profits are humble, not on a random skew either way. Shubham, that's a great point. If you try to find this type of move every time it happens, or if you try to look for these type of moves, you're you know searching for a unicorn. Um, this type of day, 12% up in the Nasdaq, almost 10% up in the S&P doesn't happen often. Now, do you see professional traders regret missing the move? I regretted missing this move because if you ask the VIPs that were in the room with me while we were doing our VIP session, just kind of going over the charts, I don't know that this going is going to happen. But from a technical perspective, uh, we were talking about some buying that happened at 1 p.m. Eastern time that kind of preempted this move, or gave us a little bit of a hint that something was going to happen. Do I know it's going to be this? No, but could I be prepared to be in a move to catch some of this? Maybe. Um, you'll hear people say that these are the type of days that could make your year if you're positioned the right way, but it's hard to be positioned the right way, right? You might have gotten you might have been good and then you got lucky. And then you still have to hold on to it as well. So I agree with what you're saying there. Trying to catch these moves all the time is unsustainable. If you're able to catch a piece of it, awesome. But if you're going to be approaching the markets and day trading all the time, I think it's way better to lean on something that you can do repeatedly. And then every once in a while, when you do sometimes you're just going to swing the bat, make good contact, and hit the ball out of the park. But if you try to do that every single time, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Well, here, look at today's range. That's even hard to say because every day we're even more shocked.
Right.
We were just shy of 2,000 point range, 1,900. Excuse me. I'm looking at the wrong thing. The range was 2,653 points in the Nasdaq. I'm
Weren't
going
we
to
just
repeat that.
weren't we just talking about a 1,300 point range and saying that was crazy?
Right. The S&P range was 646. Now, I've never seen that before. And I'm as old as dirt. I've seen a lot of things. What I'm saying is like, yeah, I'll tell you what, if your trading plan had a trade, you to be consistent over time, uh, where you're executing your edge, um, if you got 2 or 3 to 1 today, like you did your job, and
Yep.
2 to 3 to 1 with the average true range or the volatility this high is a great trade. So, I know I've fell for this, like, I'd love to have a day like this today if I'm right, and that's where that can lead you to false expectations.
Yep. Yeah. And
I've done that.
I think what doesn't get talked about often, where this is and yeah, if you catch part of this move and you made a ton of money today, some people might have their biggest trading day ever, right? If that's you, just be conscious of the fact that the market conditions facilitated that, right? Coach, the market conditions facilitated some of your biggest days. You didn't do that. You executed it and you were a good follower of what the markets did. But if we go back to daily ranges on the NASDAQ of 300 points and you try to replicate a day like today, you're going to struggle, right? The market it has to be perfect conditions, like you just like lightning strikes and oh hey, I caught it and I was good. Um, so Shubham, that's a great question that you bring up, right? Great point that you bring up. trying to replicate this is just it's you're doing yourself a disservice as a trader. These are like perfect conditions. Every day is a new
Yeah.
day,
And if you caught it, good on you. I mean,
for sure.
good. I think the danger is not to expect that kind of return. There's on any trader's history, there's the best day, the best month, the best year. But ask any long-term trader, oh, I hated that year. I got crushed.
Yep.
Or that was a really shitty day.
Oh yeah.
That's why limiting your losses is so important.
Yep.
If you limited your loss, you're trying to buy and you catch this day and you boom, it makes up for a month of bad trading.
Right. Yeah. Somebody also had their worst day of their trading career. Lido says, "Chat wants to know the truth. Are you in the Illuminati? If I was, would I tell you?"
No, but I got this light. It was delivered to me, was under the porch. And now I see everything. No, and it's sincerely, no Illuminati here. I don't
No
know about
Illuminati.
Jay.
No Illuminati here. Definitely not. And if you did have your worst trading day of your career, also, right? Just remember that a day like today, these moves, I think once they start going, and like we said, Coach, maybe there could be a plan to say, hey, let's just wait for that insane volatility to start and then catch the move. Once it starts, if you had a short thesis coming into the day, throw it in the shredder. Same way where if I had a long thesis coming into the day and if this market just went to the downside, I cannot just stick to that long thesis, right? If this insane volatility is moving this way. Are there short trades that you could have taken here? Yes, but if I got short, this happened, and then I get that frustration of, oh, I was short and it should be going down. I'm going to short it again. I'm going to short it again. I'm going to short it again. That's how you can have your worst losing day. So hold that opinion that you have in the markets very loosely, where you can adjust. And maybe you don't adjust and say, hey, I'm going to buy it, but you can adjust and say, hey, you know what? My thesis is wrong and I'm going to, not continue to take those trades. Uh, all right, Coach. Any other markets we want to talk about?
Crude
Crude
or
oil.
gold.
All right, I got gold
Let's
up.
go. Yeah, let's go to gold.
Here's gold on a 30-minute. This was
So
like,
we were talking. Let's go to the daily because we were talking about this daily yesterday. It was going to go one way or the other.
yeah,
Well, but it held at 50. I was, you know, I was of the opinion this could break, but that's my opinion.
right.
The trend is up. I, by the way, didn't get a chance to sell it.
Hmm.
My failure is I got so busy, I didn't buy it.
Right.
So let's look at last night on the opening. We talked about this. Let's see where the first half an hour. Frame that out.
It's all the way down here.
Yeah.
Should I reconsider my not trading overnight? No, I'm not gonna do it.
No.
But when it moves like that, go ahead, Coach. What are
Well,
we
look
seeing
at
here?
that. We did. What's the low of the day?
The 50 moving average, 29.83. 50 moving average on the daily.
29.83. VWAP. We had selling. VWAP didn't leave the range. Now we look at the half hour on the night session because it's less volume. So the shorter term is not as important.
Yep.
But I just love. Matter of fact, I was looking to sell and I thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
I was tempted to sell it, and then with a stop above the opening range. What stopped me is I'm like, wait, this is a bull market.
Yep.
And then the bonds dropped 5 handles. I got really busy.
I think we do need to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Then we broke out, VWAP broke out, and what we rally? $78, $90, $100.
We were up 130 at one point today.
Okay. 130. There it is. Is that the VWAP from yesterday?
Yeah, I don't know why that shouldn't be on there, but I mean, yeah. It's VWAP from yesterday. We got back above it and it held the entire time. I was looking to buy gold during fast markets, and we can see here technicals matter. Pull back right to that VWAP from last night's open, and this is when that news came out and 50-point bounce from there. Uh, these markets are presenting great opportunities right now, traders. With that being said, don't be afraid to trade small. Uh, these are honestly my favorite type of markets because the once volume starts to get going and we can see it. For me as a trader, I can just find the flow, get in the flow, and don't have to catch nearly as much of a percentage of the move to have good days. With that being said, we don't have to over leverage either, right? You can trade small and still make some decent profits, and it's across the board. Really nice movement in gold today. Anything else on gold, Coach? Looking back at a daily,
Yeah,
we're
it
back above the 20.
looks like it's rocking again back to new all-time highs in the next couple
Tomorrow, couple hours,
minutes. I don't
couple
anything
minutes.
can anything can happen.
Anything
But
can
yeah,
and will happen. Yep, looking pretty good. We
uh,
talked about all this high volume, and we get a spike out of it, right? Pulled back to the 50. New all-time highs sometime soon.
what?
Uh,
Wow, 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 wow.
what happened?
That look at today's volume in the buy side versus
Uh,
the selling.
hold on, that's not right because this chart is not updating the volume. Give me 1 second. Let me refresh this chart. There we go.
All right. Well, that's even. I mean, oh,
It's disappearing for some reason, but you saw it.
all right. It's still less than the volume of the selling.
Yep.
Compression trade. That looks good. Gold got a green light for me, but I'm still forlorn that I didn't.
Yeah. Generational opportunity to buy gold here for a new all-time high on the run to 5,000. All right, let's take a
Oh,
look at crude oil. Chauncey says this market could easily be back down tomorrow. I think maybe you're talking about the equities, and it could, right? We're still in a
oh
downtrend.
yeah.
We talked about bear market rallies being some vicious moves. That's what we got today to the upside. But we're still technically under that 20-day moving average, rejected almost to the tick. I don't think that's a coincidence. What are we looking at here in crude oil, Coach?
There was a nice spike down. This it engulfed. Did engulf yesterday's range, almost 2 days.
Yep, almost 2 days.
Um,
Looked like it was going to go negative early in the morning.
yeah. Well, it's a short covering rally from the way I look at it. Can it rally back up to the 20-day? Absolutely. And it was a good place. If you want to get long, I wouldn't buy this kind of extension, but look, I'd see tomorrow's going to tell the tale. If you're
Yep.
aggressive and we break this high, maybe it does. But coach, you know this, but you do this better than I. What's 50% of today's candle? I would look for that if it's going to be a low of the move.
It's $3 away from we're trading right now.
Yeah, $3.
It's
What?
59.
$3
Yeah,
American dollars.
almost 4. We're trading almost $63 right now. This is a huge range today. The $8
Oh,
range.
yeah, $7.81.
Right.
That's wow. That's 3.5 times the average true range. I'm with that kind of. I'm not going to be trading crude. I would look for some pullback that. But yeah, Wow. That affected by news.
Affected by news. Again, crude was not looking great. It looked like it was just going to sell off this morning. Traded. That's interesting. Whole numbers. Pay attention to whole numbers. All this selling pressure that we've been under. Get down to $55. Can't trade it. Not one contract at $55. Down to $8.
$55. No, yeah, think about that. I got to run and fill up after the show before they get a chance to raise them, unless that manager is watching the show and going, raise it now.
Right.
Wow. That actually looks like the S&P.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a VWAP, the session VWAP?
Right there. Kind of hanging out with that 20 moving average.
Yep, it did. And then, boy, that looks just like the S&P to me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it looks almost exactly the same.
So we made lows for the move. And then we get above VWAP from that daily and above the 20 bar moving average.
Yep.
You know, I guess I don't know anyone out there want to look at that. That's they hug each other. And when they get far away from each other, I think that's a sign to cover if you're short or long. But for those of you who watch that, I would look into that.
Sure. All right. We got 15 minutes left. Couple questions that we have here. I think Chauncey might have been talking about the equities today on the volume profile question. What shape profile? If I'm gonna guess, it was a P shape. Take a guess, but let's see. P shape profile. Do we include overnight session or do we want to just go with the New York trading session?
Let's do both.
All right. So double distribution.
Double distribution. That's.
And then if you
And
just
I
do
think on the daily it was a single distribution because I can see the volume.
on the regular
Just
trading hour
from
session.
the opening, yeah.
Yeah. Let's
Oh,
see.
double.
Double. I mean, we did spend a lot of time here. We did
Well, that
spend
was it.
almost all morning in that consolidation.
That'd be interesting. Let's put the VWAP on the opening bar with that. Yeah.
Come back and see what's up down here. Maybe. I would not be surprised at a little bit of a pullback after this move. Wow, if you look
Hey,
at the regular trading hours, we close, or we could just keep running. Who knows?
we don't know.
We don't know.
That's why my mantra when I finally understood it was you don't know. It gets me into trouble, at least me and I know a few other traders. Oh, this time for sure.
Has to happen.
When you have that, when you say that, back, breathe.
Yep.
Because the only certainty we have is uncertainty, taking proper risk, following the trading plan. So someone else said this could come right back down.
Right
There
back
is
down.
we've seen this, but such a big range. The probabilities are not large, but difference between probability and possibility, right? Anything's possible.
Yep. Question here from Rock and TJ, and then we'll go through the rest of the questions. If we trade back to that news candle, do we fall back through it because of the lack of orders there? It's a good question. There was some decent volume that traded there, and I think if we look profile off of here, yeah, if we look at the VWAP from that news candle, it did leave the range to the upside, right? And it's acting as a support. So that would be the first area I would check to see whether or not buyers are convinced. But then, yeah, 100% TJ. I would be looking at the high of this candle, 5280s, we'll call it, if we get back down there to see whether or not that holds. And then same thing we do with all the news candles, right? If the high of it doesn't hold, does 50% of it hold? If 50% doesn't hold, then do we trade all the way through that imbalance? Because there's definitely a big buy side imbalance there in this zone. Uh, Alejandro says, sorry for the noob question, but how do you guys use VWAP? Do you adjust settings for it? Regular settings, we're using anchored VWAP to a couple of different places. Normally the 5 p.m. Central Time open, which is going to be the full session. Then we'll anchor to the New York session open, which is 8:30 a.m. Central Time. And then from there, I'm going to anchor to any high volume candle, right? And high volume, an anomaly, something that sticks out, something like this. This tool that I'm using to draw these it's just a fib tool. Coach, any other markets you want to talk about?
Bonds.
Yes. Oh yeah, we have to. 30-year, 10-year,
30-year.
30-year. And we got a couple more questions. We'll get to those as well.
Let's go to that daily.
Here we are on the daily. Wow.
That's a wick of wicks. Now, last night, there was a huge, huge move. By the way, the bonds, the daily average true range is usually with one handle, roughly about $1,000. Today it had a four handle, $4,000. Last night, you see that we frame it out. We had urgency and a massive move. I can't. That's a massive move for the bonds.
Coach, you know how I know this was a massive move?
Huh?
Saw crypto traders that I follow on Twitter talking about this bond move. That's how you know. Crypto traders, right? I don't even know if they trade equities at all. They trade crypto, and they were like, "Yo, what is going on in the bond market right now?" This is
Well,
scary.
here's what's going on. The Chinese are either second or third largest buyers of U.S. Treasuries.
Yep.
That tariff kicked off, and I'm still wrapping my head. How do you go 125%? But I'm not going to go there. Retaliatory action is okay. It's like pissing off your creditor.
Right.
I'm going to take credit away. So there was,
yeah.
And this happened in Asia, and it was vicious. What was interesting, you see that price moving down? Look at the volume from the beginning of the night. Let's go bar by bar. This was okay. Here's the opening. No volume.
Oh.
None. Urgency and collapse.
Yeah, Asia opens right here.
Yeah. And then it locked up that market. I know I was short bonds and long a call spread as a hedge in my swing trade. And one of the short call I had, I want to get out of it because it was 5 delta, which basically is a dead option. I'm like, well, but there's no sense in keeping that. Get out. I mean, but I look at the market. Now, a 5 delta option should be a 1 tick to a half tick wide. And it was 7 bid at 24.
What does that mean, Coach?
It'd be 7. It should have been, let's say, in a regular market, 9 bid at 10. Okay, 9.
Explain that for the chat that might not understand. If you can.
All right, if I'll put it in a NASDAQ term, it'd be like seeing the bid at 18,300 and the offer at 18,500.
Okay, so super thin market.
There was nobody there. And
Right.
I tried to put my one lot up the ladder. I didn't even get a response. Um, I so that market locked up. That was such a shock last night. They stopped making in the options. I don't. They stopped making markets. Like we're done. I can't. They can't. I don't see that. That was kind of concerning. I won't say frightening, but it was concerning. Um, that chart doesn't do the justice of the veracity of that move because it moved. We go back. That's a 7 point move for the bonds in what 2 days?
From up at these highs, yeah, about 2 days.
2 days. That's not.
Not good.
That's almost bigger percentage move or a shock than the Nasdaq today.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be a nice, quaint place. You know, put bonds. It's bonds. It shouldn't be that violent, and it was. Interestingly, we made the low. Finished unchanged basically for the day, or a half point lower. Still big problems in the treasury market. I'm not going to go into it now. Basis trade is being shook. Last time that happened was COVID. There's trillions of dollars in basis trade,
Hmm.
and this is a reflection. Is the volatility it's in '08 they called it, or the Asian crisis they called it contagion. The cost to carry is out of whack, and that's what trade wars will do. It upsets everything. So that volatility that came into the treasuries is still, I don't think we're out of the woods. It's very concerning, especially in the U.S. treasuries. It's supposed to be like boring. It was
Right.
far from boring today.
It's supposed to be the safe space.
Yeah,
Not very safe. Uh, Shout out to the bullet traders. A hundred and caught 1,988 points on 2 micros in my live account. Can't believe it. I recorded a lunchtime video for my YouTube channel and decided to long 2 micros at lunch. What a lucky day. Was trading my process, but forgot to place a take profit. Only had to stop in, look back. So this is exactly what we're talking about. I was trading my process. I don't know if your process always doesn't have a take profit and you just trail, but you were trading your process that got you into the trade. We're good. Then you got lucky. That's amazing, right? And that's a great trading day. 2 micros making almost 7 grand, 8 grand. But even that, right? That's an amazing day. But like the bullet trader just said, I got lucky. If we're ever at a point where we're relying on luck, and it's gonna happen. I love my lucky days too. Like, oh man, that was and you've had those, coach. You've had some lucky days before where you're just like, man, you know, I feel like I'm owed one of those because you have some unlucky days as well. But if we're relying on those lucky days, that's when we're in trouble. But bullet traders, shout out to you following your process first, and then the market rewarding you for following your process. That's all that was. Good trade.
great job.
Um,
Yeah,
oh,
by the way, lucky days are so nice, but you know, luck goes both two ways.
oh yeah,
Bad luck and good luck.
for sure.
I'll quote an old blues song: "If it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all." Yeah, what I'm saying is, yeah, you need good lucky days on big winners.
For sure.
Um, don't fall in the trap that's going to happen. I mean, that could happen, never happen again. And it's great.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's amazing. Is today the single biggest up day for the equities in history? Uh, it might be. I don't know. I go to CNBC and Bloomberg for my history lessons. I'm gonna be honest. They'll tell me if it was. I think it probably has to be
It might be on point wise, maybe
point
not
wise. Yeah.
percentage wise.
Right.
Scott Vaughn, I lost 200 following my process, and I ain't mad about it. Great job, Scott.
Good stuff, Scott.
Absolutely.
Shoebomb had a question. How much of this move do you think? How much of this move, percentage wise, is because of short covering, uh, rather than actual longs coming into the market? It's a great question. Hogue is going to mention the open interest tomorrow on the opening call. I'd say a decent amount of that move was short covering. Think about it. Swing trade shorts have been short for a month and a half. We saw it where they did the tester out there to see whether or not this news was going to move the markets, and it did. And then they said, "Hey, that news is actually real now." Um, so a good percentage of that move had to be short covering for sure.
Well, it fed upon itself.
Right.
Remember, it's a dynamic system trading. So at certain inflection points, when we talk about liquidity, it's on both sides. Some big buying comes in, there's stops, there's levels that there's profit taking, there's new buying, and there's only so much room in the market to
Mhm.
accommodate it.
Right.
So that's why, we go back. This could be just a bear market rally. I don't know, and I don't go into prediction. All I know is I'm glad I covered earlier for myself, because of the setup, the way the volume was in VWAP. No other reason. Um, I'm glad I did, but yeah, to me right now, unless it gets over to 20, this is a short covering rally. What could be explosive is what I'll call allocation. Longer term players coming in. It's safe. Buy 5 billion today,
Right.
and then you could see it melt up. That's just as much a possibility.
Let's see if it
Um,
holds. The buyers will tell
yep.
us whether or not they're truly convinced. We got about 2 minutes left. I can't chill yet until you answer this question. Can you demonstrate how to anchor? Yeah. So in the drawing tools on the left side over here, you five icons down, you have projection tools. Halfway down that menu, you have anchored VWAP. If you're going to use it all the time, put a star next to it, and it shows up in this little drawing panel up here. Click on the icon with the two candles and a line going through it, and then just choose a candle to anchor to. And I can't chill yet until we get 150 likes on this video. Uh, our audience is a little bit low today. Maybe everybody's exhausted, but if we can hit that thumbs up button, if you like what you're hearing here, Coach Paul and I are here every day covering this stuff. All right, Coach. Any other markets that you want to go over before we get out of here?
Um, no,
All right.
I think
So time for our favorite segment of the day. What are the price limits? Today's price limits. Thank you, Andrew, for sending these over. There were some questions during the session about, hey, can we trade if the market is up over 5%? Right? We talked a lot about the downside limits of 5%. Upside limits don't exist during the daytime trading session. Now, I do want to encourage everybody to read through the article on uh, the Topstep website because these upside limits do exist during the overnight trade, right? So from 5 p.m. Central Time to 8:30 Central Time, right? Anything that's not the New York session, these upside price limits do exist. Then you need to be aware of it. So if we gap up tonight and we're trading up 5% in the equities, then yes, you need to be out of that position in an XFA or live account. But if it happens during the New York session, you don't have to worry about it. The markets want to rally 50% during the New York session. Hold on. Hold on for dear life.
I'm against limits on the upside. I just had to throw that in there.
Let it go, right? Come on, it's going up.
Let it go,
Going up.
especially
Uh
if I'm long.
exactly. Get out of my way. Um I got nothing else, coach. Thank you. This was the clearest market manipulation by one person ever. I mean, call it manipulation, call it maybe it was market motivation. Hey, let's get going. We can move up to the upside, whatever you want to call it. We have to trade it, and there's opportunity in it. So thank you all as always, Coach Paul. Thank you. We got Coach Hoop doing a class coming up in uh, Discord in the next 13 minutes. Uh, Coach Ray and Coach Vince in Discord, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. Of course, Dakota with slow markets at 7:30. I will be joining Dakota for slow markets. Then we have Aaron doing the London Open, 1 a.m. Central. He doing the Euro trade, who did a great segment with Jerome. I caught the tail end of it this morning, but I got to go back and watch the rest of it. But it was Neuro Wednesdays, they call it. Jerome, the brain doctor, and D, Neuro Wednesday. They do it every Wednesday, right? So different kind of psychology, all about the brain and how it relates to trading. So if you haven't seen that, definitely go and watch that. D for the Euro trade at 3:30 a.m. Central Time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
We're out of here. See you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.